Okay, it's up and running.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started. It is 9 a.m. July 18th, 2023. I call this meeting of the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners to order. The mission of the Texas State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners is to establish and enforce policies to ensure the best possible quality of veterinary and equine dental provider services for the people of Texas. Dr. Mixon, will you please call the roll?
Sorry, Dr. Gola. Dr.
Here.
Kreiner,
Here.
Dr. Mixon here, Dr. Skaggs,
Present.
Ms. Whitehead. Here. Ms. Allen. Here. Ms. Olivier. Here. Mr. Purdue.
Present. Thank you for that. We have a quorum present. We will continue on with our second item of business, which is consideration and approval of the minutes from the April 25th, 2023 meeting. Do we have any comments in regards to the minutes from the board?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to amend the minute to change and add in the recusals. I think that's something we previously discussed of doing, but reflecting who was recused on each item.
And that'd be a good idea. We talked about that at the last meeting to make sure that we did that. We didn't get that done in these minutes, so we'll need to add the recusals in the minutes as stated at the last meeting.
And if no one else has anything, I'm happy to make that motion. Okay. I move that we approve the minute, subject to the presented amendment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes with the adjustments. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up on the list, we have citizens' comments. Please be advised that for those that are making comment, you'll be limited to 3 minutes. We do recognize virtual comments first. However, today we don't have any. So with that, I will start off with recognizing our in-person comments. And first to turn in their paper would be Mr. Don Farrell with the Texas Veterinary Medical Association. Mr. Farrell.
And I have nothing to comment at this time, but subject to whatever business comes up, I may have a comment.
We're only open at this meeting for public comment at this point.
All right.
Thank you, Don, for being here. Okay, next up is Mrs. Arlethea Middleton. You may.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. President
Good morning.
and board members. My name is Arlethea Middleton. I'm the former Chief Financial Officer for the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners. I came on board August of this last fiscal year in 2022. And when I got here, got to the board, there were a number of issues that had to be resolved. And I commented and I reported to the board when Mr. Purdue was the presiding officer. We had multiple invoices that had not been paid for fiscal 22. Invoices such as DIR, the Department of Information Resources, Texas Pharmacy Board, Texas Association, Microsoft, just invoices for the prior fiscal year were coming in, and which the agency had to pay interest on those invoices because they were 30 days past due. So luckily, we did not exhaust all of our funds for fiscal year 22. So with the working relationship that I had with the comptroller, she was able to go in and unlapse those funds. And so we were able to pay those funds. And during that she had those extra funds, at the time of my departure, there were no funds elapsed for fiscal year 22. Also, when I came on board, there was a backlog of refunds that had not been processed for that year. Licensees were being duplicate paid because of the licensing system, which I know you all know about that. There were duplicate payments, there were late fees that had to be reimbursed. And with Ms. Bennett's help, we were able to get those refunds processed. And there were over 100 refunds, which total, can't really remember. I know over $10,000. So I processed them through the accounting system. Ms. Bennett verified them, processed the letters, and mailed those letters out along with the check. Also, we went through the CAPS conversion. It's what I reported to you all at the last board meeting, which is the centralized accounting, payroll, and personnel system. The agency was transitioning to the HR payroll system. I went through the 7 weeks of testing. I had to report to the comptroller weekly of all the testing. And the majority of the work I did, Ms. Finler she did some of it, but a lot of times she had to leave the meetings early. And on the mandatory meeting on May 7th, she was not able to attend. And that was on a Sunday. And so I did take care of that. And then we had the audit. The comptroller wanted to audit for the prior fiscal year that I was not employed. The audit period was from 9/1/21 to 8/31/22. And I was able to find some of the invoices. Jared was very helpful, Mr. Jared. He was helpful, and so was Ms. Bennett. Ms. Bennett was able to produce some of the letters, but as far as accounting documentation, it just wasn't there. And I was able to look into the accounting systems to see that the check was processed. However, the backup documentation wasn't there. And also during the audit, the auditors came over and met with me. She went through her computer system and she could not find any of the purchase orders in the CAPS accounting system. And on a side note, the auditors are always there to help us. They aren't there to throw us under the bus, so to speak. And they were very kind, but they didn't have anything to audit. And then Mr. Tacker took over the audit shortly after the last board meeting. He said he was able, so to speak, to find the documents. I did request an open records request, and I reviewed those documents, and some of them are questionable, but I'm going to leave the final report to the CPA because the auditors, their final report will be posted on the comptroller's website and be given to the governor's office, the LBB, and Sunset Commission. Also, so that was an issue with the auditors. But I just wanted to bring up the point that the auditors are always there to help, not to throw us under the bus. And that we just couldn't find the documents. So anyway, that was that. And I'm running out of time, so I'm almost through, Dr. Go. Also, I was fired by Ms. Sharkey on May the 11th. And Mr. Tacker was present, and Mr. Jarrett was present. And that was the bottom line. And so I filed my unemployment with the Texas Workforce Commission to get my unemployment insurance. And according to the Texas Workforce investigation, the employer this is their words, the employer fired me, for a reason that was not misconduct connected with the work. And that references section 207.044, and that's under the Texas Unemployment Compensation Act. So why was I fired? Only Ms. Sharkey, Mr. Tacker, and Mr. Jarrett would have those answers for you. And that sums it up. I just wanted to thank y'all for your time. I wish you all the very best with the new legislation that the governor has already signed. And that's it. Thank y'all.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Arlene.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up, that'll conclude all of our comments. I didn't have any others turned in, so that'll conclude that section of the meeting. Next, I will recognize Ms. Sharkey for the executive director's report.
Thank you, Dr. Gola. So now we are finally at post legislative session. We know where the check pieces are. We know what the field looks like, and we can keep moving from there. So SB 1414, our sunset bill, was signed by the governor on June 18th and goes into effect on September 1st of this year. That will attach us to the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation temporarily for a period of 4 years. It allows us to work with them to help us improve our policies and procedures, work with DIR to obtain a new database, and really just support the agency in a lot of ways. Attached to my report is also a legislative chart outlining the relevant bills that passed affecting the agency this session. So you'll see some updates to Public Information Act, some updates relating to veterinary medicine, and some updates relating to just general state government. Additionally, with the end of legislative session, we now know where our budget stands with the passage of HB1. So the agency has received a significant amount of new funding this year. We're very excited about that, including funding for 8 additional new FTE roles that we'll be looking to fill here the first part of the new fiscal year that starts on September 1st. We're very excited about an additional staff veterinarian for the first time ever, and an additional staff attorney. And so in some personnel news, obviously, Candace Van Vlera has taken over the role of Director of Finance. We're really excited to have her on board. She's been working in the financial department of the agency for over a year now. She unfortunately cannot be with us today due to illness, so I will be covering her report when we get to that section. And we've also hired Brittany Gaines, is our new staff support services officer, who's going to be helping us with issues of HR, payroll, and finance too, to be a backup over there. And then we've also hired Carol Ann Tackett as our new executive assistant. Carol Ann is a former veterinary technician as well, and is a great fit for the role and has already made a huge impact to the team. So we're excited to really have a rounded out home office. As you can see also in my report, I've included a dashboard of some of our metrics, and each individual director here will give an update about those metrics, because those are even now out of date. We've got even better numbers to share with you. You keep going through my report, there's also a chart there showing you what we requested in our exceptional item request and what was awarded to us in that process. So had a very good budget year, and really are getting the agency the resources that it needs. So with that, and in some exciting personal news, I was appointed to the Executive Director Advisory Council of the American Association of State Veterinary Boards. So my term started on July 1st, and I'm excited to work with them on improving the Executive Director experience. And with that, I will turn it over to Wanda Bennett from licensing.
Board members, any questions for Ms. Sharkey?
Congratulations.
Good morning, everyone. The license team is reporting for the third quarter FY 23. New licenses issued, 233 DBMs, 1 special, 1 EDP, 87 LBT, 5 temporary, for a total of 327 new licenses issued in the third quarter. And for a year total of 704. This total is partially reflective of the graduated veterinary seniors who received a license in May, which is a 53% increase in new licenses issued over the second quarter of 377. In April, 110 wild licenses was ordered from our solicitor, and in June, another 348 wild licenses was ordered. The total agency license count as of June 29th is 10,881 DBM regular licenses, 50 DBM special license, 6 DBM temporary. The LBT number is a typo, is actually 2,607 LBT licenses. I think it's listed as 2,603 in my report. 65 EDC licenses for a total of 13,609 licenses. In the third quarter, we received from Texas A&M University 121 applications. 72% of the graduating class of 2023, which totaled 167. The state board exam for these seniors, which took place on April 19th, resulted in 100% passing the exam. Since March 1st, 2023, 361 licenses have been issued, of which 237 were for the graduating seniors. The application process time, which last had been reported at 10 days, has steadily increased upward and is currently at 21 days processing time, and that was as of June. It's better now. This is partially contributed to the volume of new applications received from graduating seniors, and due to 50% of the staff having only 6 months of experience on the job. This concludes my report. If you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda.
Okay, next up, we have our report from Enforcement Director Mike Tacker.
Good morning. So we had a very busy June. So I'm gonna give you some updated numbers that are gonna be more than what you were provided, so they'll be the most current you have. We in June, we received 47 complaints, so that's one of the biggest months that we've had this FY. So far, year to date, we've taken in 348 complaints. We've completed 344 investigations and currently have 181 open investigations at this time. Inspections, we're up to 766, so we're over our annual performance measure for that category. And out of them, we have opened 12 cases. So enforcement is still fully staffed, and the investigators are working very hard to keep moving forward, knocking them cases down and getting them inspections turned. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Hargis with the legal update.
Morning, everyone. Legal update, these are projected numbers, but right now it's projected that we have 205 complaints. I'll break that down to individual members that consists of the 255 complaints. We have 14 and pending board informal conferences. We have 109 that are pending board action today. We have 51 complaints that are board or have been submitted as board orders to opposing counsel or respondents, and it's pending their signature. We have 12 cases on hold pending criminal civil trial disposition. Then we have 2 pending legal review. We have 29 pending staff conference. We have 18 complaints filed at SOA right now. And and one petition has 9 complaints combined into one petition. And then one other petition has 2 complaints joined in, and then one petition has 3 complaints that are joined together. So that total number is 18 that are currently filed at SOA. And then we have 18 cases that are pending filing at SOA. And then we have two complaints that are pending proposal for decision to be rendered by the administrative law judge. So I'm projecting today after the board meeting, if everything approved, that's before y'all today, we'll be sitting at 146 complaints.
Mr. Hargis, so the SOA 18 for everything that's joined, if my math is right, that means 5 active cases.
I believe it's 6.
6, okay.
And since I drafted before, we have another one filed, so we're right at 9 actually.
Okay. And a bunch of our showcases were active this month or the last month. We'll have hearings
Right, well, they're scheduled for hearings, or they will be scheduled,
this month or next month.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Director of Licensing and Compliance, Jared Conrad.
Good morning, board members. These are also updated stats from what you currently have. The compliance department currently has 36 licensees that are being monitored regarding board orders. Compliance continues to see an uptick in the request for CE hardship extensions, as well as requests for criminal history evaluations. Over the last few weeks, I've begun the arduous task of DPS fingerprint validations. That entails every licensee will have their fingerprints validated after 5 years in my system to make sure that they are still an active licensee per state and federal guidelines. The validation of prints is done on a daily basis and will be ongoing in perpetuity. Staying on the fingerprint topic, 815 fingerprints have been reviewed for applicants this fiscal year as well. Into the compliance phone line, which is my cell phone, I've received 919 phone calls for service this year. And if those numbers continue, I expect to answer well over 1,000 phone calls this fiscal year. We currently have 6 new positions that are currently posted for our agency. 4 investigator positions are currently posted, 1 in the Austin area, 1 in the West Texas region, 1 in the Houston area, and 1 in the Dallas region. We also have a staff attorney position that's posted. And we also have a licensing specialist position that is posted as well. I anticipate posting 2 more investigator positions within the next couple of weeks when we figure out what region in the state of Texas we're going to post them. And I also expect to be posting a program supervisor position because eventually I'm going to be losing my wonderful program assistant, Mrs. Bennett, to retirement at the end of the year. So if you have any questions, I'd be more willing to take them.
Jared, I just have one question. What is fingerprint verification?
Yeah, so when you got your fingerprints done, they are in my system for 5 years. They need to be validated. So what that means is I'm able to see your record as far as if you ever get arrested or charged with a crime. I can only see that if you're a current active licensee by our agency. If you're not, then I have to defollow you or unsubscribe on your fingerprint. That way I can't see it. But if you come back into the practice, then I subscribe to your fingerprint, and I'll be able to see any arrest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Honrath, what kind of phone calls are you getting on compliance? Are these?
I
Sorry.
get compliance, licensing, fingerprint, CE hardship extension, general agency questions,
Okay.
board order questions, opioid requirement questions. So it's just a vast array.
Is there anything this board can do to assist you with?
You want to forward my cell phone? I can put it.
I didn't know if there was anything we could do to assist you with,
The good thing about the phone calls that I get is they're normally a 2 to 3 minute conversation.
Okay.
They're really quick. They're not drawn out, like, so it's normally a few words.
okay, all right, thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I will editorialize, I will say that Jared has been probably a little too generous with his cell phone, and so it's gotten passed among the veterinary community, so
Okay,
I think that's probably a large reason for the high number of calls.
okay.
Well, we appreciate the customer service. That means a lot. Thank you.
Next up is our financial report. So like I said, unfortunately, Candace Sendler can't be with us today, so I will be filling in for her. One of the big things that we're working on right now is that there is a 5% across the board salary increase for all state employees that went into effect on July 1st under SB 30. And so all of our employees will see that on their August 1st paycheck. So we've been working with the comptroller to get that in place. Additionally, there will be a second across the board 5% salary increase that everyone will see on their September 1st, 2024 paycheck. So working with the comptroller, make sure we have all the right information and data inputted into that has been a lot of work over these last few weeks. We are still working with the comptroller on the audit. We expect a final report hopefully in the coming weeks. And just to give an update on where we are in expenditures, approximately 83% of the year has elapsed and we've spent about 81% of our budget. So we are coming in 2% under. That also accounts for a lot of year-long bills are due at the start of the fiscal year, so even accounting for that, we're doing very well in terms of budget this year. And I will say if you have any questions, but I'll try and do my best to answer.
Any questions? Okay, Brittany, does that conclude?
It does.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up are board committee reports, and I'll start with the executive committee. First, I want to just thank everybody for attending here today. We've got folks that are watching online. We've got everybody that has attended here. So thank y'all for taking your time out of your schedule to be here with us. If you haven't already, please silence your cell phones just as a reminder to prevent any distractions. This has been a very interesting year. We can finally have a sigh of relief. The legislative session is over. And to that point, I'd like to thank the staff for all that they've done during that period of time. I know that there was a lot of unknowns and things that y'all had to navigate. There were a lot of rumors, conversations, opportunity for there to be anxiety. And I just want to thank y'all for sticking to your focus on the job. And when we look at the numbers, where we are with inspections and compliance and all that, I'm very proud that y'all were able to stick with it and stay focused and not get distracted. So thank you. And I think the board as a whole, I think I can speak for them to say thank y'all for all the hard work that y'all have done. However, with the session, we have an opportunity for some new opportunities, and there's some newness on the horizon. And I'd like to thank TDLR for allowing us to be here in this room and using this big facility with plenty of room, unlike our last meeting. So thank y'all for inviting us and providing us all the great tools that we need to have this meeting. And I want to welcome them to our meeting today, and y'all will be addressing us here in a little bit. And so thank y'all for being here, and we look forward to the opportunities that we have going forward. There's the conversations that have started back on June 27th with the staff. That went very, very, very well. And I think we're off to a great start. So thank y'all. We look forward to this unification of working together to get us to the next step. So thank y'all. Finally, the last thing I'll mention is y'all can notice we have one empty seat. Dr. White officially resigned as of June 30th. He submitted his letter to the governor's office for his official resignation on June the 30th. Dr. White's been with this board for almost 6 years, and I think we would all agree that his meticulous attention to detail probably was superseded by none.
That's correct.
He was absolutely meticulous and very fair in his review. More than anybody, he taught me how to do the medical reviews and just his very methodical process. He's very, very strict in terms of his structure and how he evaluates things, and he will be missed. And I wish he was here for us to thank him for his service and time, but Dr. Michael White has served the state of Texas very well, and I think we're all proud to know him and work with him. So Dr. White, if you're listening, thank you. We do appreciate you very, very much.
Yeah.
Okay, with that concludes my reports, and we'll move on to the Rules Committee.
Okay.
That's all right. If you don't mind, I would like to discuss my committee under agenda item 7.
Okay, we will move you to the agenda item number 7. So
Thank
Dr.
you.
Skaggs, that will go to you.
All right, thank you, guys. I tried to jump the gun. Dr. Nixon got my way. It's a speed bump, but we did have a finance committee meeting on the 7th. I'd like to thank my board members, Victoria and Raquel, for making that. New update today, we were at 70%, 76% for the year about that time, and we were right on track with the budget as indicated today. It was a pretty quick meeting. We had some questions offered and discussion occurred about the managing the end of the year adjustments and hopefully having a little bit of a budget surplus that we could utilize those funds to spend some different things. So have a good game plan, I think, going forward for that. So that's encouraging. Then we got to the problem where they're having to crack down on lack of financial controls, especially with board member travel. You guys have given them some problems with travel. No, not really. The last group didn't really worry too much about getting with us on our travel. This group is doing very well about us turning in our receipts, getting paid for our travel. So we appreciate that as well. So they're looking at all aspects of the problems we had from the last administration, but getting that corrected. And I was joking, there was no real travel issues with the board, so forget that. Don't put that on the record. And last but not least, we offered our support to the staff and appreciation for how well they turned over the information without having to do a records request. So we appreciate that. Thank you guys very much, but offering you a copy of this. To put in the records. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Skaggs, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Skaggs? Okay. Last on the list, our Education Ad hoc Committee, Dr. Crocker.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate the hard work when needed from my committee members, Dr. Skaggs and Ms. Allen. We currently have two more at this time continuing education reviews that need to be done. Otherwise, they've been going smoothly. The AAVSB recently updated its race standards. And so in the not too distant future, we will be reviewing those to make sure we're in line with what the race standards are, since we are one of the largest states with, I believe, one of the best educational opportunities here for DVMs, and we would like to stay in that ballpark. Other than that, everything is going well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Crocker. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 6, discussion, recommendation, and possible action regarding rulemaking in accordance with HB 4069. Dr. Mixon.
I'm next.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so this last legislative session, there was an amendment to chapter 801, the occupations code. And it was amended, and it's 801.3581, the price transparency for emergency care. This rule outlines what this statute change outlines what I think most veterinarians are already doing, but that there's a description of proposed treatment and the estimated price of the proposed treatment, and that the veterinarian should be given an opportunity to assess the animal's condition, to propose the treatment and the estimated cost. Basically, this statute requires you, if you are providing emergency care, to do your very, very best to explain to the owner what the care will be and what the estimated cost will be, so that they have a accurate idea going forward of what kind of financial outlay is going to associated with the care of this animal. The legislature has said that not later than December 1st of 2023, the state board shall adopt a rule to implement this in the occupations code and have a rule that explains this new statute. So that being said, along with the TDLR's leadership with helping us with policies and procedures, I do know that under section 2001.029, there's a public comment law that says, before adopting a rule, a state agency shall give all interested persons a reasonable opportunity to submit data, views, or arguments orally or in writing. And so, like, if you have a TBVME organization with greater than 25 people and public interest, we've had a lot of public interest in our rule changes over the last 2 years. A lot of comments come in, a lot of people want to be heard. So what I would like to see is, under the combined direction of the TDLR with the board, I think it'd be great if we had a public hearing offered to the public and the TBVME before any and all rule changes, so that everybody has an equal opportunity and access to the rulemaking process, so that everyone feels heard equally and not one group more than the other. In light of this, since we have to have a rule by December 1st, I'm hoping that there can be discussion between the two agencies, so we can set up a hearing date maybe in the early fall, so that the public and the TBVME has an opportunity to give us comment on how they feel about this and what they'd like to see in the rule. And that's really all my report is about. That's it.
Any other comments or questions, concerns, board members? Okay, well, I look forward to our work on this. Obviously, we've got a directive from this statute on what we have to do. I
Yeah.
don't think we need to wait till September 1 to get started. We should be able to get going right away.
Okay,
Thank you for that. Anything else?
that's it.
Great. Okay, the chair will now recognize Hemmett Macon and Mary Winston of the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation to introduce yourselves and give us a little presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I am Mary Winston. I'm an attorney here at TDLR I just got my 10-year plaque. So, I've been a licensed attorney for over 27 years. So I was a baby. I was a baby. But no, seriously, we are honored to be here today. We are honored for this opportunity. This was a gift that we did not expect to receive. But when you receive a gift, you say, thank you. This is my my boss, the Deputy Executive Director, Hemmett Macon. We do have a short presentation this morning just to sort of introduce ourselves. So, Hemmett.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gola, members. Thank you for having us today at your board meeting. I've been working for the state for 28 years now. I've been with TDLR for 6 years. And each session is a new session for us, and we look forward to having you, working together with you. I think the charge and mandate is very clear with SB 1414, is that we have a 4-year relationship, and to echo Brittany's statements, when this relationship is done, TBVME will be the best small agency in the state of Texas. So we look forward to the great work that's before us. I think there's so many opportunities that we can achieve and overcome. And it's exciting. It's going to be a unique relationship. And Mary will speak about this a bit later, but it's not something that we haven't encountered before at TDLR. And we'll describe that in a few pages. So there's a handout before you, just to give you a short overview of who we are. You met Mike Arizmendis, our executive director, already. Again, I'm Deputy Executive Director for Administrative Services. Christina Kaiser is our Senior Deputy Executive Director, and Eric Beverly is our Deputy Executive Director for Licensing and Education. Throughout this fall and the next 4 years, you'll get the chance to meet a lot more staff. But again, Mary and I will be heading up the implementation of SB 1414. Moving on to the second page. Simply put, our mission is to earn the trust of Texans every day by providing innovative regulatory solutions for our licensees and those that they serve. And those include your licensees and all the pets and animals that they serve that we love so much. We, because we have brought in so many programs, it seems every session, innovation is a key to our success. We have a underlying principle, which is the sunset licensing occupational model that we implement and follow. But in order to achieve that, we have to be nimble and adjust to the forces that are before us. And so we've developed a culture to help us, look differently at such situations and problems. And again, we look forward to working with you on the mandates before us with this bill. Moving on to the next page, the TDLR, who we regulate, we have a total of 38 different programs. We were at 37, and they now put electric vehicle supply equipment to us, charging stations, so that brought us back up to 38. But on that page, if you look at the health professions category, you'll notice that there are 10 of those, everyone from athletic trainers to speech language pathologists and audiologists. So we do have our share of medical and health programs. In the scope of where your industry will exist and operate in collaboration with us, it'll be in that health professions and medical professions scope. So it's not a foreign land to us, what you do. But at the same time, we have a lot to learn about the things that we do. Okay. I will, one more page, and then I'll hand it off to Mary. Our Commission of Licensing and Regulation, we have a total of 7 commissioners appointed by the governor. They too serve staggered 6-year terms. Rick Figueroa in Brenham is our chairman. Thomas Butler in Deer Park is our vice chair. Sujit Draksharam is in Sugar Land. Dr. Gerald Callis, MD in Beaumont. Dr. Gary Wesson, DDS in Richmond. Lori High, she's an APRN, she's in Spicewood. And Nora Castaneda is in Harlingen. Okay, and throughout this relationship, you two will get the chance to meet and interact with our commissioners. All right, and I'll hand it off to Mary to talk about advisory boards and more about our medical and health professionals.
So again, so happy to be here. I just enjoyed your request earlier, your thought about rules and how that's gonna happen. So TDLR, and I think on the previous page, and y'all forgive me, I finally have contacts that I can see 20/20, and I can't see crap without these readers. So I'm doing this. Can I go back and get a lower prescription? I don't know. I'm gonna try.
But the
But-
owl is watching.
The owl is watching, so the owl can see it, but I don't want to call out the wrong thing.
Right.
So as the page before, on page 4, and we talked about our commission, it talks about transparency and open government. So over the last few years, and I've been here 10, we have grown. I've been the advisory board attorney for, 6 years. I would look back at my program specialist, who you'll meet later, Miss Delia Luna. We have a couple of other individuals who some of you have met. I know Miss Anna Clark, when she goes back to read this or review this after her vacation, she'll say, Mary mentioned me again. But she also helps with our tech. So when you talked about, and I'm sorry, after a certain age, I won't say when, names just left me, but Dr. Mixon, thank you for that. How we really do our rules here, and we have our Deputy General Counsel, Mr. Charles Johnson, in the back. We call it giving a couple of bites at the apple. Of course, there's a public filing in the Texas Register. It has to be there for so many days, but as we move forward to SB 1414, this body will be advisory. So we have had this situation happen, how many sessions ago, with SB 202? And there was a little bit of heartburn. What does that mean? We're not as important. Oh, yes, you are. Because I'm not a veterinarian. I don't know how to do what you do. The executive director who hired me said he could license a barber, but he couldn't cut hair. And as a matter of fact, he had no hair. So that was his running joke. But we know how to issue licenses. We know how to do regulation. And that's why we've grown so much, even since my tenure here, from first Bill Kuntz to Brian Francis, and now we have Mike Aris-Mendez. Mike was with us before as chair of our commission, so he has been around a long time and he knows how these things work. Our advisory boards are an integral part of everything we do. We had a first draft of this and we had 31, and then again, we got another gift during the session. MOLD, which the MOLD program, and we have a lot of acronyms for things that you'll learn, or I'll actually say the words. We now have a board for them. So an advisory board. And in my view, as an attorney for those boards, I feel, well, now they'll get more attention because they will have representation from their field, right? I can read all day long from my office here in Austin. I can talk legal jargon all day long, but do what I understand? No, I need folks who work in it to help me understand it. So we highlighted invaluable input. There are industry experts, the medical and health professions, business leaders, educators, public members, and that's all set by statute as to who is a member of these boards. Typically, our boards are appointed by our commission chair with a vote by the commission. However, we have several advisory boards, and during this planned 4-year divorce, though we're all in love with each other, you will be a part of that list. Currently, we have the Industrialized Building Code Council with 12 members, the Podiatric Medical Examiners Advisory Board, and now we have the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners. Actually, I met Hemet before he came here to be my boss when he was executive director of the POD board. So during SB 202, and how many sessions ago was that?
That was the 84th
The
session,
84th.
2015.
And we kind of got a new character at that point, but we also became very dexterous as far as how we can handle this. And I think that's why the ledge trusted us to just say, help them out a little bit. They've got it going on. They know how to license veterinarians. They know what they're doing, but we have processes that have worked in the past. And that's why we're here, just to work with those processes. So Dr. Mixon, for your edification and for everyone watching, we have what we call the 2 bites at the apple. Your general counsel will work with doing the rules, and we have a whole team thing going here, and we'll all meet each other and work together. But that draft goes in front of the advisory board first. Then that's a public meeting that looks much like this public meeting. And those rules are published in our documents for that meeting. So anyone from the public who wants to come and comment, they can, but then they go out to be published for further comment. So then we get other comments that come in through a dedicated email, that an email that Secretary of State knows. So we get other comments from people who may not have watched the YouTube channel, but took the time to read it and had comments. Many times we have comments from associations and so forth. And those comments are reviewed by our general counsel's office and brought forth in another public meeting.
Excellent.
So at this point, that's that second bite of the apple. At that point, when the advisory board is ready, which means when certain things happen between staff, advisory board, we come up with, whether it's a working group, which is a non-quorum member body of this body, brings back something to the board and the board votes yay to move it forward to the commission, that is when we would move forward with the next step of the rules. The public will know every step of the way. We give, and the advisory board gets 2 bites minimum at the apple, because if certain public comments come in and it may change the tone or different very important aspects, it's not just an administrative tweak, may have to go back for another 30 days. And we work until we get it right? And that's not with us, that's with all of us getting it right. So I wanted to allay any fears or concerns that you had there. Our next page, we talk about TDLR functional alignment. And this is our latest one. And again, shout out to Mr. Jeff Copas, because he and Ms. Tila Monge, that's our government relations guru and our communications manager. They handle, well, heck, Jeff single-handedly tracked thousands of bills. I mean, we all track them, but he lives and breathes that while we're watching to see what's going to affect TDLR. And he disseminates that information to all of us. And I always say, I'm not GR, I'm just GR adjacent. And as an attorney, I'm able, and I'm happy to be able to do that, right? So this kind of just tells you how we're set up. From the governor appointing the commission and certain advisory boards with Senate approval, all the way over to where we have all of our management, chief of staff, and what divisions fall under those divisions. So this doesn't mean that everybody does everything, but we all know that we're working for the same common goal. And so we don't say, okay, issue that license and don't ask us what that license is about. And, you know, you don't need to know that. And I've worked places where they just want you to put that cog in that hole and do the thing. And that's not how we operate here. Everybody's a part of this body. And if you don't know what you need to know or what you want to know, there's someone here who's going to open their mouth to our own staff, internally and externally, to help you understand. And if I don't know it, I'll bug the crap out of him.
She won't.
So our next page talks about our legacy, new and transferred programs. And this gives an over 20-year look, and that's through Q3. You can see from our legacy programs, this is how we were rolling along for 20 years. We had these same standard programs, and the legislature decided to create new licenses in and of themselves, nothing to do with TDLR. We need this license, but hey, you all are the umbrella licensing agency, so let's handle that. So we have a little uptick in the orange, and look what we have here. We can see in the gray, that we have grown.
Mhm.
So as you say, or as I said earlier, when someone gives you a gift, you just say thank you. We say thank you and we get to work. We've had folks in the past say, y'all want to take over. We just want to do our jobs. But because we want to do our jobs and we really try to do them well, the ledge has acknowledged us for doing that well and gifted us with a lot more work. So we're always busy, but honestly, I'm always eager. My business cards that I handed out have my work sale. I may be like you, giving out the sale too much, but that's okay. That's really okay. Because if there are questions, we want to be able to answer those questions. That just gives you a little snapshot in how we've grown and why we are here today. Lastly, we have important contacts. So this was a very simple page, and we thought about putting Mike's contact as executive director and really blowing up his life. And we said, why would we do that? You can reach out to him if you want to, but him and Macon and myself, and oh my gosh, your name isn't on this contact list.
No, but they know how to reach me. You have my card.
So we've given the card, but as advisory board attorney over the support, we do this all day long. It's what we do. It's as much of an art as it is a science. We welcome you. I'm just, my husband says I'm like the guy on Psych. I remember all these little bitty things, and I think it's a man from Mars, women from Venus, or whatever the book goes. Whole conversations can go on, but he's an engineer and he sees something completely different than I do. And I'm like, honey, there's more to this scene. What did you miss? And the men are looking stunned and shocked on this dais here. But if you need anything regarding the new board status, and I'm going to mention here, we're planning a summit. This too is public. This will be in September. We meticulously do these things as well, because this is a change. Okay, veterinarians, large animal and small animal, are still going to be doing their jobs. But those in your community and in the public at large who have an interest in veterinary medicine can come into this summit. It's public. The summit, though, is for us to get more of an introduction, not just the Mary Show here, because I can be chatty, but for everyone, all of our directors, kind of to know how we do things, economy of scale. Typically it's a day, but we'll introduce ourselves. Then we will, of course, get introductions from you. And then whatever issues, we flesh out the summit internally and externally. If there are issues, Dr. Gala, that you feel should be covered at that summit, it's more of a public awareness. It's there typically can be public comment, but this is kind of our meeting for us to gel and to figure these things out even further and how we're going to work together and to invite that public in. And we do have public comment. I always have flashbacks to when we were gifted the massage program. That was a very interesting public meeting and with you too, but we wanted folks to have their say. So actually we have a longer public comment period because there are always fears and concerns about how things are going to happen. We're here to take that information. We're here to introduce everybody, ourselves, you guys, and to make sure the public is aware. Our communications manager, Ms. T. Lamonge, she's sitting back there and she handles literally communications. If we have news folks, if we have social media things, she's a newspaper lady, and now she's using those talents for us. Legislative and government affairs, Mr. Steve Bruno is our legislative director. Mr. Jeff Copas is our government relations guru, and they also handle constituent and legislator inquiries. So based on this email and other emails and things that come in that have inquiries, that is the first landing spot for those inquiries. That is, I think, all I have to say, but I can see there are words that want to come out of his mouth, so I will let him do that.
Sure. Just a few more things about the slide you're in your handout. Mary had mentioned that we have 32 advisory boards. So just to back those numbers up a bit, we are just shy of 1 million things that we license and regulate, mainly people, businesses, and also devices. We regulate also every fuel pump in the state of Texas. So you'll see that every time you're pumping gas. And if you have a electric vehicle, you'll see that pretty soon as you're plugging in your vehicle somewhere. But again, 38 programs, 32 advisory boards. And that means somewhere around 263 advisory board members.
266
266, all right, advisory board.
and
members,
counting, because we haven't appointed,
the most.
chair hasn't appointed Mo yet,
Right.
but we're just under 300, yeah.
So that's a lot of advisory board activity. The advisory boards are at the heart of what we do. Their input is extremely valuable, not just to the department, but also to the commission. But it's a high volume activity. Before COVID, we had upwards to 80 meetings a year. And past COVID, we had a lot of meetings virtually. And in fact, I know that this board, your preference is to meet in person, and we will continue to honor that. We also have the ability through a recent sunset change for advisory boards to meet virtually. And that was out of recognition for the volume of work that those boards do. Should we get into an emergency, any disaster, or need to meet for any urgent issue, we have that capability. And as you can tell with this room, we have the place and the technology to accommodate that. Back to your standing as a governor appointed board. Mary mentioned our industrial housing and buildings program and our podiatric medical examiners board. I spent 18 years at the podiatry board. Dr. Gola and I had talked about that, 12 years as executive director, and that program made its way to TDLR by way of Sunset. And Sunset had saw fit to transfer and consolidate that program into TDLR, and we did that. We made the jump in 2017. At the same time, TDLR was bringing over 14 programs from DSHS on the 85th, 84th, and 85th session in 2 phases. That was a very busy time and a big spike in our growth, but we understand and we respect the SB 1414 process that went through the 88th legislature. We understand your standing as a governor appointed advisory board. As Mary said, again, we have 2 of those. And in fact, for the podiatry board, it went completely through the event horizon where it became a permanent part of TDLR. But again, with y'all, we have a 4-year relationship, and we have a very clear goal, and that is to be compliant with what Sunset has set forth for both of us. So I just want to leave you with that. And we look forward to the summit in September. We'll talk more about who we are, who you are. You'll get to meet our division directors. And meanwhile, you have another agenda item today to consider as we, begin some of this good work a bit earlier before September 1 with the agency itself. Okay.
If there are any questions, we would love to answer them. If not, again, welcome. We're honored to be here, and thank you, Dr. Gala, for giving us and Brittany this opportunity to introduce ourselves in this initial introduction.
Thank you very much for the clarification. That was great. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Any questions, comments from the board? I would just say we've had lots of conversation leading up to today, and it's been very fruitful and collaborative. So thank you for that. And when Mike and I were talking in an analogy on how we could explain this to the public of what is this? To me, the best analogy is that this agency is a fence, and it's a fence that's been around for decades, right? And there's some pieces of the fence, like our technology, that's a fence post that's falling apart, and we need to replace that. But in replacing that, there is opportunity for weakness with the fence if it's not done correctly. You guys are here to help us rebuild our fence. So that we can then go on and continue to do our jobs. And I think that for relationship, we'll all learn a lot, and we look forward to that. So we appreciate y'all being here today and look forward to the summit. And thanks for all the collaboration thus far. And we'll have that memorandum of understanding up next. So.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. Okay, with that, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, which is the discussion and possible action regarding a proposal memorandum of understanding between the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners and the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. So, with the statute that was passed connecting the 2 agencies together, That would officially begin September 1, but we definitely don't want to wait until September 1 to begin our work because we have lots to do. So with that, I recognize Ms. Sharkey on this item.
Thank you, Dr. Gola. So to echo what Hemant and Mary said, this really just allows us to start working with TDLR ahead of that September 1st legislative start date. This allows them to come in and start really kind of kicking the tires, looking at our processes and procedures so we can start implementing them sooner rather than later. So it's a relatively simple document. We're just kind of speeding up that SB 1414 process a little bit.
I would assume everybody on the board here has had an opportunity to review that document. Are there any questions or concerns in regards to the verbiage of the document?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this document.
Okay, it has been motioned that we approve the memorandum of understanding and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I guess the process for that, Ms. Sharkey, will be what? So we get those signatures this week and we move forward. What's that look like?
Yes, so by the board's action, I've now been authorized to sign on behalf of the board, so I will sign on behalf of TBVME. TDLR is having a commission meeting on August 1st. They will bring that to their commissioners for their approval and vote. Then they will sign off on it hopefully and approve it on August 1st, and then it'll go into effect on that date.
In all transparency and honesty, do y'all want to come up together and we can have a marriage ceremony real quick or? Well, if you say we're getting divorced, we got to have a marriage, so maybe, or is that paperwork enough? So.
Glad to officiate.
Thank y'all for that. Okay, next up, agenda item number 9, discussion, recommendation, and possible action of final default cease and desist order, SOA docket number 578-230-8896, TBVME complaint number CP 21-447 regarding John Paul J.P. Sardella. The chair recognizes Mr. Hargis on this item.
Thank you, Dr. Gold. In this case, Mr. Sardella was practicing equine dentistry without a license. We filed a case with SOA. And he was properly served with the complaint and a notice of the hearing. He failed to attend the hearing. So the judge ordered a default dismissal from the SOA docket and managed the agency for informal proceedings. So in this case, we've drafted a cease and desist order. It's in the board package. So we had a chance to review it. So at this point, it's just be proper to entertain motions to adopt the draft order. It's in the packet.
Are we allowed to ask questions first?
Sure.
Mr. Honra,
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate y'all doing this as a member of the veterinary community who practices equine veterinary medicine and dentistry, specifically that we've taken action in protecting horses from this. My question is, how do we ensure that the cease and desist is carried out and that his practice is finished?
The only way we can do that is if we have one of our investigators go up there.
Okay,
That's literally what, yeah.
But this is definitely the first step. Without this,
Yeah.
there's nothing
Yeah,
we can do to
yeah,
protect the public.
okay. Well, I move that we accept this document as it stands.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
So clarification, this is a cease and desist, us basically telling him to stop. It's not necessarily an injunction, we can go in and, so can you explain that to me just a little bit?
It's
Okay.
telling him to stop the practice of equine dentistry unless he has a license. If he violates this order, then he's subject to further action. We could impose administrative penalty on him up to $5,000 per day for each one.
Okay, that's what, thank you.
But for us to go for the SOA, he needs to be in violation of the order to put it within the jurisdiction. So
No further questions.
Thank you. All right, hearing no further discussion or questions, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next up, we're gonna have a discussion and possible action regarding the ad hoc outreach committee. With the legislative session being over and the establishment of our newsletter, I'd like to discuss dissolving our ad hoc outreach committee.
Dr. Bulla, I first off want to say thank you to you for chairing that committee and the board, for allowing us to have that committee. I feel we met on a weekly basis. And it was pivotal during the legislative session that we communicated about who we are, about what's been going on. I thought it was a very successful committee, especially telling our story, and also kind of helping navigate the transitional time. But honestly, I really think, thank you for bringing this as an agenda item. I think it served its purpose. I think we'll have, under the recommendation of TDLR and kind of where we go from here, what communication and outreach looks like. But in terms of this committee, and our workload, I'd like to recommend to the board that we, dissolve it at this board meeting.
That comes as a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we, dissolve the, outreach committee.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we dissolve the outreach committee. Any further discussion? The only thing I would say is thank you, members that participated, Dr. Mixon, Brittany, Victoria, thank you all very much. It was effective. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, next we'll move to agenda item number 11, consideration and approval of agreed orders. I recognize Mr. Hargis for the.
Mr. President, received a request to pull CP 20-094 for further discussion into the executive order, executive session. As well, for the record, please let the record, allow the record to reflect that Dr. Bull has recused himself from voting on CP 23-186.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the agreed orders in agenda item 11 besides those read aloud?
Motion. Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 12, consideration and approval of cases recommended for dismissal from informal conference. I recognize Mr. Hargis for this item.
And Dr. Bull, on this agenda item, we've received a request to pull CP 22-220 for further discussion in the executive session.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the cases for dismissal in agenda item 12?
Moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the cases for dismissal in agenda 12 besides the item that was stated. All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item, consideration and approval for cases recommended for dismissal from staff conference. Mr. Hargis, I recognize you for this item.
Dr. Bull, this agenda item has not received any requests for any further cases, any cases in the executive session.
With that being the case, is there a motion to approve the case for dismissal in agenda item 13?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the cases for dismissal from agenda item 13. All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, consideration and approval of cases recommended for dismissal from medical review. Mr. Hargis, I recognize you for agenda item 14.
Dr. Bull, I have not received any request to pull any cases for further discussion.
Is there a motion to approve the cases for dismissal on agenda item 14?
Second.
We'll have Dr. Kreiner as assessing the motion and Dr. Skaggs seconding the motion. Any discussion on this agenda item? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we're now at item number 15, discussion of possible agenda items for future board meetings. Does anybody have an agenda item for discussion that they would like to state today? Okay, y'all are free to do so with our tradition, with about 30 days before the meeting. So if you have something that you think of, please let us know and we can get that done and distributed. Okay, moving on to item 16, we're going to then be moving into executive session to discuss pending and contemplated litigation pursuant to chapter 551.071 and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. This meeting of the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners will now go into executive session starting at 10:10 a.m., July 18th, 2023. Before we do that, do we need a bio break? I could sure use one. So.
Sure, let's do it.
Give me just a second.
Figured out on your own.
So really, we just need
An hour away.
Hey, Dr. Gillespie.
The time is 10:49 a.m., July 18th, 2023, and pursuant to sections 551.071 and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code, the board has returned from executive session. We took no motions in the executive session, and the only thing that we need to do is approve of some cases that we reviewed. So I will recognize John Hargis. Identify those cases.
You do one at a time, CP 20.094.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the agreed order CB 20-09.
Second,
It is moved and seconded that we approve case CP 20-094. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Hargis.
The next one, CP 22.220, recommended dismissal following the informal conference.
Mr. President, I move that we recommend for dismissal CB 22-230.
second,
Been moved and seconded that we accept CP 22-220 for dismissal. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, that concludes the agenda items today, July 18th, 2023, for the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners. Thank you for all in attending, and we look forward to seeing at our next meeting in October, which will be put on our website as the time, date, and place. With that, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Dr. Gola.
Thank you, Dr. Mixon.
Do we have to take?
Thank
Oh,
you,
do we-
everybody.
wait,
Thank
wait,
you.
Good point. Do we have a date?
We do.
Yes,
We
it's in
do.
October.
Those dates have already, we remember last meeting, we did it for the whole year. October and January.
He's right, on the 17th.
Yes, October 17th.
Yeah, from my phone.
Remember, we had the argument about second or third,
Next one, 17th.
17th of October.
Then what after that?
October 17th.
January.
And then we did January 30th.
Yes.
See, it's on my phone.
Look at that.
I got it.
January 23rd.
January 23rd,
Third.
January 23rd, not 30th.
That's as far as we got. Yep.
Yeah, that's as far as we got. That's far enough.
Changing. Okay. All right.
Hey.
We're good to go.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.